When alumni talk about the college, it's always the teachers, the coaches, the staff members. Often they can't remember who the president was, but they never forget the people who were there in and out of the classroom to impact the rest of their lives. It's the people who make North Central special. It's the people who make it the school we love. The school I love, although I was never a student here. I never had Dick Eastman as a professor, or Howard Mueller, or Fran Navakis. I was never coached by Al Carius or John Thorne. I never went on a service trip with George St. Angelo or acted in a Doc Schanauer play. But presidents at North Central have a unique privilege to live in the middle of campus, to know students who triumph over the hardest of personal circumstances, to attend student concerts and plays and national cross-country and track and field championships and call it work, to visit with hundreds of alumni in their homes, to watch and to listen and get to know. The retired librarian in North Carolina who kept a shrine to her alma mater in her retirement home room and always complained that the local papers weren't printing North Central's football scores. The remarkable sisters from a small town in Wisconsin who turned a lifetime of hard work, investment savvy, and careful living into a transforming gift to their alma mater. The son of a longtime professor who left what was then the largest bequest in the college's history. The baseball player from Indiana who went on to build a company and chair the board of trustees of his alma mater and always apologized that his magnificent gifts were too small. The extraordinary scientist who grew up in the North Central President's House went on to head intramural research at the National Institutes of Health, where he was known as the nurturer of Nobels. And when he stayed in his old room in conversations long into the night, never tired of challenging me and the college to reach higher. The woman from Elkhart, Indiana, who was honored by President Truman for her scientific breakthrough synthesizing chloromycetin. The legendary English professor and dean who never stopped teaching, providing me wise counsel until the day he died. The humble couple whose family farm provided the first building block on which another remarkable alumnus would help build a legacy for the ages. The family from Indiana that would impact their alma mater over 4 presidencies and where the witness of a campus minister would continue in their good deeds to this day. The trustee who grew up blocks from the college and after building an extraordinary business became its guardian angel. The man from Milwaukee who headed both the Student Governing Association and the Black Students Organization as an undergraduate and took what he learned here to Harvard Law School and a career as a leading lawyer and businessman. The coach whose impact on the campus and thousands of student athletes over 45 years is immeasurable. The young woman from Chicago whose speeches preceded the president at campus assemblies, always outshining him, who went on to become the youngest school principal in Iowa. The woman from Bosnia who overcame family tragedy to become a Soros Scholarship winner and a leading medical scientist and doctor. The young man from the inner city of Chicago whom I first knew as a 3rd grader in our adopted school on the west side, who later shook my hand at commencement. The refugee from Afghanistan who suffered major leg injuries from a landmine explosion, but became a best-selling author and graduated in the same year she became a U.S. citizen. The national championship cross-country team from 1993, then and now the best scorer in NCAA history, whose picture hangs on the wall of the basement of the President's House, a daily reminder that North Central can reach for the stars. Hundreds and hundreds of stories, why I love North Central so much. But just one more. Benna and I stayed with Dan Rugie and his wife Greta in their home in Denver every summer for 15 years. Dan was a modest man. but once in a great while, this former North Central board chair and White House physician to President Ronald Reagan might point out that 5 U.S. presidents were shot while in office, and 1 lived. Let the best-selling author of Rawhide Down tell it.
In the chaos of the emergency room, Dan Rugie, the gray-haired and decorous White House physician, remained remarkably composed. His first concern was that the doctors at GW not give Reagan special care. Exotic tests, diagnosis by committee, flying in experts from another city, such measures would take time and would put the president's life at even greater risk. He immediately began telling doctors to handle the president exactly as they would any other patient in his condition.
And that's what saved his life. Otherwise, he would have bled out. How different would history have been if Ronald Reagan had died in his first month in office? Dan Rugie was an extraordinary graduate of North Central, but as this description captures, he was also a perfect example of the answer to the question, what is it that defines a North Central person? I'll answer that question with another question. How many employers over the years have told me why they prefer North Central alumni as teachers, engineers, salespersons, business executives? Hundreds, thousands. It's all there in Dan Rugie. You can rely on them. Competent, hardworking, able to learn, loyal, honest, trusting, and not full of themselves. It's not about me, it's about us and getting the job done. Hard not to love that kind of graduate in a school whose commitment to leadership, ethics, and values is stamped all over them. Great colleges don't happen by accident. They're built brick by brick, month after month, year after year. Some of us get to stand on top of the wedding cake when things go well, but it's the men and women who show up every day, who work hard, who share their time and treasure and talent selflessly, who have trust and faith and competence, who fight for what they believe and don't believe they have all the answers, who don't care who gets the credit. They're the real builders. And what they've built for more than 7 generations are thousands and thousands of alumni who witness in lives well lived for what they learned here. The sesquicentennial is a time for closing the circle, for finding a new generation of heroes among our alumni and friends who will answer the challenge of that all-time record cross-country team on the wall of the basement of the President's house. Why not the best? The easiest thing to take for granted about North Central College is the beauty of our physical campus. Grass, flowers, bushes, trees, well-maintained buildings. It's our secret weapon. The sesquicentennial campaign projects for the South End and the mid-campus are about adding to that beauty. They're a statement about what we value. They're not a luxury, they're a necessity. It should be no surprise that crucial to the campaign is support for scholarships and endowed professorships. How many of the alumni I have visited over my 2 decades at North Central could not have made it through here without that support? In all, we're seeking $100 million in the sesquicentennial capital campaign, much of that for a new science center, so that the college's long and proud record of producing scientists and doctors like Dan Rugie, Dr. Ed Rall, Dr. Mildred Rebstock, and so many others can be sustained in the 21st century. With a new facility, we may even want to expand the college's program to embrace allied health and engineering. But we won't build that science center until we raise the money. No debt. That too is a value hardwired into the character of this college. North Central is a great institution. 3,000 strong, 2,500 full-time undergraduates. We've been named one of the top campuses in the nation in our commitment to sustainability and one of the best places to work. Our endowment has crossed the $100 million benchmark with 40 straight balanced operating budgets. But I never forget that our strength, our success must be won anew every day. In the classroom, the neighborhood, and in the incredibly competitive marketplace of higher education, and that it is 100% due to those who love and support us and have for 150 years. Presidents come and go. Institutions are built by thousands of individuals over generations, never satisfied, always running scared, always willing to lend a hand to make things better, never demanding the credit. North Central's future rests on the same shoulders as its past, on the recognition by people like you of the personal stake each of us has in producing the Dan Rugies to come, for the future of the planet and for the school we love.